involved were the parents in the preschool?
They were great. Once they handed their kids over to me, which they did, and I began, after a couple of years, people really said, oh yeah, it was, the parents began to trust, because as a parent, you give your child to somebody the first time, that is scary.
I'm sure, yeah.
So I tried to make them know that I was going to care for them like they were my own, which I wasn't. I had to feel that way, and that they could feel okay about it. And we would do the plays, so the parents would come, and if parents wanted to stay, and sometimes I would try to get parents to come in and do things, and it kind of worked. But once parents finally got their 3-year-old into a place where they liked it, they really had things to do, is the truth of it. I don't blame them. I mean, and it was fun to have parents there sometimes, but sometimes parents, any parent would add another energy that you had to kind of incorporate. And but I was happy, because all the time, whenever they'd want to stay, and then the big thing would be the plays or potluck, and then and grandparents would want to come. I know when I took my grandchild to preschool, I so bad wanted to stay, but I couldn't. But I knew how not annoying, because you're really happy the kid likes their grandparents there, the mom and dad. But I knew that it wasn't the teacher's favorite thing. But anytime a parent wanted to lead a project or something, I just went with it, because it was good.
How old were your children when you
more like that?
How old were your children when you started to teach? Were they already in school, or how did that work for you as being a mother and a teacher?
Oh, well, Grace had gone off to college, which my youngest one. So she they were all grown and gone.
Okay.
By that time. But all the time I would be in school, like help with the 3rd and 4th grade class, or our grammar in 8th grade. My kids were in school, but I didn't have the responsibility of a whole class and all the parents and all the you do embrace the parents like that, because they might want to talk on the phone at night or something, and that would take a lot away from a family, energy. So
did you have help as a preschool teacher, or was it just you?
I would always take help. Like a lot of times when there used to be teacher training stuff, like from different colonies or from Slovenia and Italy, they would come, and preschool was a good place to start. And I would take them, because they could help me on a walk, or I would just really use them, tell them what to do. And then I also had high school kids. It would be like a internship. So that was good help.
Yeah. Do you kind of,
like I'd say, okay, these two over here, let's play catch with them on the playground, or let's, so.
Do you kind of need a helper at that age?
It's very useful, because if we went on a walk, it felt, a lot of times I'd go without if I didn't have a helper, and then I would be careful to make sure we were not like a challenge walk, but it was helpful just to know there was another person. Okay, stay with them, I'm going to go do the kind of thing. So so I had a lot of helpers.
Can you speak a little bit about how you came up with curriculum? Because I know one of the challenges for EFL teachers in the beginning was you weren't really given any form of curriculum. You had to just kind of come up with it on your own. So how did that work for you as far as being a preschool teacher? Where did you draw your activities from, and the things that you would do every day?
I sort of like to go along with the seasons. Like in the fall, the curriculum was, let's go find acorns, let's find beautiful leaves, let's bring them back, let's do artwork. When we did a spaceship, that would be sort of when we couldn't go outside. There wasn't so much outside. We would study planets, not like we'd study planets in preschool, but we'd get the idea of outer space.
Yeah.
So I would always have a theme, and sometimes a theme for a week, and maybe our play would incorporate a theme. But the only reason I would do a theme was cohesive, like a flow through the day. And I don't do what the other older grades did. Even kindergarten would do, understanding the universe, all of those different areas. But on the other hand, we would, because we would be in the moment if it was Christmas time, or fall time, or springtime, and art. And then also, like a simple bingo game for 3-year-olds. So, and we count when we walked. Let's see how far we can count, and how far can we count when we walk up that hill. Always talking about the day during natural things, just as it, oh yeah, today's Tuesday, this is the day, such and such. And so, yeah, so I would just, like, the flow of the season, or the outdoors, or the natural flow, of nature would be, because I didn't have to worry about that. Although they all said their ABCs before they even got there, they knew. The kids just learned that. That's not that big a deal. But more curriculum, like getting along, like how can you, a curriculum of how do we share, how do we use our words, how do we learn to be part of what's happening, how do we ask if we can play the game instead of coming and saying they won't play with me. Well, let's go ask if you can play the game, so that's the curriculum, is just
like life
skills for life.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, we're counting acorns, or we're baking, and we're experiencing that, or we're doing Play-Doh, or measuring water. So all that can just, but see, that was what I liked about preschool. It would just be a flow. I wouldn't have to think, oh my gosh, I better make sure that they can read this book, or that they can, I didn't have to do that. But I had to make sure that how were they going to handle life, or how were they going to handle themselves? Expression. Oh yeah, I think there's like self-expression. Yeah, like, so how would you say that, or how would you use your words? Or so there was always that going on with that, anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. You're building on the life skills that they need. I mean, I think that's such an important point is, and I think I talked about this with another teacher, that around that, I think it was Narani, she was saying at that age, there's a lot of parents who really want to start this thing early learning. They want them to start learning all these facts and figures so early, but really I think what you're touching upon is and she also touched upon, is so much more important, is building those foundations for their life skills, is what you're saying. It's just so valuable.
Well, and like I would make everything count. Boy, this is real scattered, because I feel like I maybe
okay.
could be more concise, but I feel like it's scattered. But I remember we had a little trampoline, and there'd be one boy who really needed it every day when he came in. And so I'd hold his hands, and we'd count, okay, let's count to 100. So I was helping him get his energy back in his spine, relax, get focused, and he'd count. And he could count. I didn't have to teach him. He knew to 100. So right there was a life skill. He was learning to count to 100. And, oh, what do I do when I just feel crazy? Okay, let's jump on the trampoline. So everything I did, I tried to make it something that served them in exactly what they needed. And then if I could throw in okay, how do you spell your name? Or, but mostly rather than any writing, although some of it would sit down and they think they were writing. Yeah, it's fine. Mostly what I would try to do would encourage artwork and painting and playing in the sand, like just moving your fingers. So,
oh, one other question I had about that is, how important, if at all, at that age is rhythm and routine?
Yeah, well, see, like I said at the beginning, the thing that solved a lot of problems was okay, we come in and everybody went and did something, or they did there was an art project ready, but they could also do their little activities, and we did circle, we just kept it. I kept it that they knew exactly what was going to happen. There were no surprises.
Yeah.
Sometimes we would have to mix it up, like the days of the play we'd have to mix it up a little, but mostly they liked that because I think everybody, no matter what the age, functions better with a consistent, right? So
Yeah.
I just felt like, oh, and my daughter, because the two grandkids I have, I'm really impressed with how she keeps a consistency. Like I went to visit and I said, let's do this. She says, no, Mom, we never do that. We always do this. I go, okay, that's good. Let's just keep it consistent. Then they just know they just know how to act within that bound. To them, it's not a boundary or like forcing them or like constraining them. It's more like, oh, okay, I know how I can act now.
What do you suggest if sorry to cut you off there. There's a lag sometimes in my internet, so.
Well, that's okay. Let me turn this up. Oh, I can't. Okay, that's all right. I can hear you.
What would you suggest from your personal experience if there's a child who doesn't feel ready to leave their parents and, enter into staying with you at school? What do you suggest in that kind of situation?
Oh, yeah, because I had plenty like that. But, well, the parent would stay for a while and that would be fine. And then when they could leave, some kids never wanted their parents to go. It was a long time. But I saw often that once the parents left, the kid kind of forgot that he wanted. So I would just work with it, but I encourage the parents to stay. With this school here, which could be different in different places, a lot of the kids were friends outside of school. So that helped because they came and they saw, their friends, but sometimes there'd be one that needed to make the friends and a little shy, but it didn't take real long. And then of course, you just do the thing, like you find their favorite activity when the parent brings them there, and you do that with them. And so, yeah, so you just, and sometimes it's the parent worrying. I sure did, to drop my kids off, but that's why I was always glad to work in the school where they were, because I was right there. I mean, in a different classroom, but kind of right there.
Yeah.
So I understand that. And mostly you work with getting parents happy and relaxed too.
Do you feel like it would be important to try to support or coax the child into being ready to be there? Or how much do you think it is about, do you think there's ever a situation or a case where a child's just not ready to go to be dropped?
Oh, yeah.
Parents?
Yeah, there are always times, maybe just once or twice, where the parent waited till January to bring the child. Totally. And most of the time, though, they're going to love it when they get into it. So I try to coax, but I don't, I say, why don't we just not, why don't you stay all day? Or why don't you, why didn't the parents stay? Or why don't you just, let's just let her go home today? Or, there'd be all kind of things, like some kids just kind of wanting to control what their parents do. You know what I mean? It's funny,
Yeah.
like, no, I want you here with me. So that was something between the parent and child. So I would just do the best I could but once the kids start to see how much fun, because that age, they're just having fun with their friends. That's what you count on happening. So you just try to make everything as magnetic as you can. And yeah.
Mm.
Then I'd have parents who were pregnant who would bring their child. It's really funny, 2 or 3 or 4. And then the baby would come in 2 years. And it was funny because the baby was coming when it was, what do you call it? In the uterus. And they would, I tell you, it would make a difference because that kid would just, oh, okay, here I am. They would have brought their brother or sister all along. And
Yeah.
so it's just getting used to it. But definitely there were times and then there were times where parents just felt like they just weren't going to do it, and they never came back. So that was a couple of times. Or they went somewhere and moved or something. But
yeah. What's the ideal sort of length for a preschool class to last?
We would do 8:30, 12:30, 4 hours.
Yeah.
That was really nice. And most parents up here could make that work with their schedules. But I know that my granddaughter is in till 3 o'clock because mom has to work. And that's okay. They take a nap at 12:30, so they get a little nap, and then afternoons are just different. But it happens. But we didn't do it that way.
Okay. Well, I won't keep you much longer, but I did want to ask you one last question, unless there was something else you wanted to talk more about. But
no, I think I talked my head off. I just hope you can. I hope you can piece something good, because I sort of rambled and lost my train of thought. But it's been fun for me to do this, because it definitely big part of my life. Oh, whoops.
You're still there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're still there.
Okay. Yeah. And I think what I learned and what I did learn from myself, my own inner growth, oh my God, is probably more than what I ever gave to a kid. I learned like discipline and just so much human understanding of human nature. Even though I had 4 kids of my own, this was different. So I love kind of talking about it and just saying, this is what I really, anyway. So go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I think you just summarized it. I really just wanted to ask what's the importance of really having your own inner practice or spiritual practice as a teacher, but I feel like you just answered the question already. So
for sure. Yeah. I had to, my only thing I could do sometimes was meditate. Thank God I could meditate, because I think I would, anyway. Well, Clarity, it's been fun letting me tell you.
No, you've given so much wonderful and useful information. I feel like you completely summarized what it is to be a preschool teacher, and I love that, because I think you're the best person to summarize that. So I think there's lots of great useful information that you've shared today.